You are listening to the Critical Mass Radio Show, Orange County's business talk show, focused on exploring topics of interest to CEOs who are leading middle market companies. With your host, Richard Franzi.
Hello and welcome to Orange County's longest running business talk show. And yes, I am your host, Rick Franzi. And welcome to 2025. This is our first live interview of the new year. LaVal Brewer is our guest. He is the president and CEO of South County Outreach. Welcome to the show, LaVal.
Hey, Rick. Thanks for having me on. Appreciate you.
So I'm excited to have you on the show. Let's get started with a little bit about you. Take us back in time and tell us about your path, kind of the journey that led you to being the president and CEO of South County Outreach.
Sure. Being a man of over 50, I have lots of days where I could probably tell you how I got here, but I'll give you the Cliff Note version. I was born in South LA, lived in the Crenshaw district in the Watts area for many years. Grew up in that area and then ended up in Culver City in the West Side. Went to Culver City High School. Why I say that? Because when I was at Culver City High School, I learned to love recreation. And what I mean by recreation, not just the sports recreation, but actually being with kids at camp during the summer and being not a lifeguard, but a locker attendant at the Culver City rec pool, which started my career in recreation and community service. Eventually went on to work at the Westchester YMCA, one of the YMCAs that today is helping the LA fire victims with all the needs they have. From leaving the YMCA at Westchester, became an executive director for multiple YMCAs in Southern California, as well as a trainer for YMCAs across the country, traveling all over the country, training YMCA professionals on YMCA practices, YMCA principles, training, volunteerism, and strategy. Eventually left the YMCA in 2010. Probably not the best time to start a consulting business, but I did. I started a consulting business and was doing consulting work around strategy and fundraising and board development for many years, and still have a consulting practice to this day. Ended up working at a wonderful company called Playworks. It's a national nonprofit that works with elementary schools around the country to create safe and healthy play for students every single day. That enabled me to figure out how to scale and figure out how to take the community work that I was doing at the YMCA and couple that with scaling practices for how do we really tackle entrenched problems in our society and in our community. During the pandemic, I was working at OneOC for business development, where I had done some consulting work, and I was tugged into this work of doing hunger and homeless prevention here at South County Outreach, where I got a job in June of 2020 doing this kind of work, which is helping preventing homelessness and helping people not have hunger through our Client Choice Food Pantry. That's how I got here today.
So you've led a life of service, it sounds like, my friend.
I've led a life of service from the time I was a small child. It is ingrained in my life.
Nice. So let's look at South County Outreach. You sort of started to talk about its mission, but can you give us a fuller view of the mission for South County Outreach?
Sure can. I can give you the mission, and even more important, our vision. Our mission's short and it's to the point. South County Outreach is in the effort of preventing hunger and homelessness by helping people help themselves. We envision an Orange County community where no one goes to bed hungry or without a place to call home. That's it.
Simple mission, big challenge, though.
It is, because we're really talking about preventing hunger and homelessness. We're not just talking about addressing hunger and homelessness. I have tons of organizations that we work with who are incredibly successful at bringing people back into housing. Our goal and our objective is to keep people from losing their housing in the first place. And our goal and our objectives is to make sure that people have dignity and respect when it comes to the food choices they have in their lives, which help them have nourishment and be able to really thrive throughout the day.
So people look at Orange County as a desirable place to live, a beautiful place to live, an affluent place to live. So, LaVal, maybe you can give us some context for the scope of the challenge that your organization is facing here in our county.
Sure. Well, why don't I go back to the beginning because it's still relevant today, unfortunately.
Hmm.
Ray Havard was our original founder. He founded South County Outreach, which had a different name back then, back in 1989 out of the back of his insurance office. Ray was a blessed, humble, faithful man and saw that his community was hurting back in 1989. If you look at a whole bunch of organizations in Orange County, you'll notice that many of them started somewhere around the early 80s to the 90s. We were addressing societal changes in the world and that people were struggling to make ends meet. Fast forward 30 years later, we're still addressing the same issues, unfortunately. People need food, they need shelter. And in Orange County right now, the ability for a low-income family or individual to get into housing is very difficult, spending more than 50% in some cases of their income in order to stay housed. And in some cases, people are spending almost all of their income just for their housing. It's a tough situation, but people say, Orange County, how did that happen here? Well, there's oftentimes when people are doing just fine, and then suddenly one thing goes wrong. They lose their job. They become disabled.
Right.
A person within their household is no longer working, or there's a separation, spousal abuse. There are a lot of reasons why people all of a sudden start to struggle. And when they struggle, we want to make sure that they don't feel less than. And just because you're middle class or even upper class, and with the fires in Los Angeles right this minute, those people lost everything. Should we feel any less for them because they had some resources? No, we should not. We should treat them like regular human beings, and we should pour out our love and care for them just like they were our neighbors, our next door neighbor, which is what we do on a daily basis. Think about our next door neighbor and ensure that they have what they need so they can continue to be a thriving member of our community, this community that I chose to live in and that they chose to live in.
So, LaVal, maybe you can help me to understand, maybe put a finer point on it. You were saying that the mission is to work with people to prevent homelessness and food scarcity.
Yeah.
How do you know that you need to get involved with people before they're in that situation of homelessness?
I wish I could say we knew how to get involved with people before they hit that cliff. The reality is that most people aren't vulnerable enough to say that they're approaching it. And those who are, yes, they will come and try to get support. And that's primarily in our food pantry, where they get a chance to choose their own food and have their own self-determination. But it's around the homelessness part, it's often an event that causes them to have to do something different. If you don't mind, let me tell you a quick story.
Please.
We have a gentleman who is older, in his late 80s, and we just helped him this last week. Him and his wife, she struggled with cancer and died 2 years ago. He fell into a pretty deep depression. And in that depression, he got behind on his utility bills. Pretty simple thing to do. I don't know how, but I'm guessing she's the one that was carrying the bills, and he wasn't looking at the emails and the notices and was too depressed to open the mail. And suddenly he finds himself in a position to where his utilities are about to be shut off. He didn't know where to go. He talked to his utility company. He talked to the city. He talked to all these people that he thought he should talk to. And the reality was that they couldn't help him. They weren't going to have the ability to help him. Luckily, someone directed him towards us. And by directing him towards us, we were able to assess his case, have a conversation about what's happening in his life, and then pay his utility bills, which is the only thing he had behind. He had enough income to pay for his regular housing, enough income to pay for his food. Luckily, his house is paid off, so he doesn't have rent or a mortgage. But he had no clue of where to go. So luckily, churches, community groups, 211, other nonprofit organizations, when they are approached by someone who is in that case or that situation, they're able to turn them towards the network and help them be successful. And we were able to help that person.
Oh,
Imagine that being your grandfather.
Well, yeah, and LaVal, I've had other nonprofit leaders on my show over the years, and there's this concept that they've educated me about, which is called the silver tsunami, which is the impending issues that boomers are going to have as they age and leave the workforce and maybe don't have the means to provide for themselves. And many nonprofits are forecasting even greater need from that cohort moving forward.
Yeah, we continue to see a large number of older adults in our pantry, in particular, coming to get free food, even though they have CalWorks or some other supportive services to help them. They just don't have enough money to make ends meet. On the other side of that bookend, Rick, though, is our foster youth, our transitional age youth, the ones who are aging out of foster care, and they don't have the support they need other than organizations like Orangewood and I can't remember right this second, the other organization, Olive Crest, several others, to help them navigate this system. It's quite a pinch.
Yeah, and we've talked about that on the show before, that idea that when they're old, when they've aged out of foster care, they're sort of left to their own devices, which can create another homeless situation for many of them. So I'm really excited to have you here on the show and to talk about your organization. I'm wondering, do you have a piece of business advice that maybe someone along the way had given to you that you can pay it forward and share with my audience today, LaVal?
Absolutely. Probably have a lot of these pieces of business advice. Lots of books out there that I would regurgitate since I don't have my own, so I have to borrow other people's information. But I'll go with one from my former CEO, Elizabeth Cushing at Playworks. She made a very clear point to me one day when we were talking about how we scale something as simple as play across the country. And she said, if we continue to think small around this work, in other words, how we go about going from one school to the next, it'll take our lifetime to solve this problem. So think big. Think very big. How do we not necessarily get to every child, but we should say every child because we want that to happen. And then don't be afraid to partner with others to do the work you need to do so that you can spread the opportunity and actually get the work done. If we don't let go of some of the things that we have to do, and nonprofits are really good at this, where we're good at what we do and we don't want anyone else to do it. The way we look at it is, how do we partner with others so that we can get the work done faster by 2, 3, 4 of us and get the work done to a point where we actually solve the problem. But to solve the problem requires multiple inputs.
And your earlier example of the 80-year-old man who needed help, the network fed him to you. So it's important that there's this fabric of support, whether it be 211 or the rest of the organizations who understand each other's missions and can direct the person to the right organization, right?
That's right. And that comes with a high level of creating trust within the system so that you know that the handoff happens in a way that is going to be successful for that organization and that your referral always stays strong.
So whenever I have a nonprofit leader on the show, such as yourself, I like to ask about a current challenge that's facing South County Outreach, and you as the president and CEO, kind of what's your vision, what's your plan, what are you doing to deal with it? Can you share a current challenge?
Sure can. I can share one that's very relevant to all of us. During the pandemic, when so many people lost their jobs, gainfully employed people who lost their jobs, and those who were employed and then all of a sudden realized they were underemployed. In other words, they didn't have enough money to actually make it through, started to turn to social services organizations like ours. Our Client Choice Food Pantry is a clear example of that. Well, today we continue to have long lines. Why is that? Well, the bird flu is causing the price of eggs to go through the roof.
Truly.
And if anyone thinks that eggs are only on the shelf as an egg and isn't in all kinds of ingredients, similar to when gas prices go up, those gas prices get filtered through the system. You're mistaking the economics of the world. So what are we dealing with? we're dealing with a new citizenry, neighbors who now understand that there are support systems available to them and they don't have to suffer. And that's a good thing. The problem with that is we keep having more and more people coming to our door. So our challenge right this minute is not to say, how do we turn them away? Our challenge right this minute is, how do we make it so efficient so that we can always sustain these types of efforts? And when you look at the LA fires right this minute, how do we create resiliency, and how do we create redundancy, and how do we create abundance within our system so that if a crisis hits us, similar to the pandemic and similar to the bird flu, that we can respond in a way that doesn't exhaust the system and continues to help people be as successful as they possibly can.
Yeah, these catastrophes that cause a surge in demand are really hard to plan for. And then the resource, an anecdotal story this weekend, my wife and I went to Costco for our regular run to Costco, and it was late on a Sunday afternoon in between the football games, kind of a thing. And I personally was shocked to when my wife came out of the cooler area and said, "There's no eggs." Costco, no eggs, because their supply has been choked off due to the bird flu. It's very, very, you don't go to Costco and expect them to be out of anything. It's Costco, for God's sakes.
Right.
So, and then the markup in the price has been significant because of that. So good.
And if you're a low income family or a family who's struggling right this minute, and you have a price hike like that, and let's say that's a staple into your house and your diet, right, that's a big blow to not only your pocketbook, but to your psyche. Mm-hmm. And I don't think we all recognize just how stressful and debilitating that type of financial stress can be on a life. We really can't just take it for granted. So the resources we need to bring into the organizations to ensure that families and individuals don't go through that level of struggle when they don't have to is critical to our success.
So let's talk about your event in April. I know that you're planning an event, and I want to give you some chance to make people aware of it here in the Orange County community. Can you talk a bit about what's coming up for your organization?
Absolutely. Sure. Events are fun, right? And obviously our goal and our objective is to increase the resources available to our organization so that we can continue to do the good work, not just today and tomorrow, but in many years to come. Our event is called Empty Bowls. It is an event we've been doing for over a decade now. It's an evening gala event. It's going to be on April the 11th in the evening here at South County Outreach at our office in Irvine. Our participants will be able to see the pantry and experience that pantry space, as well as some exhibits and spaces to where they can see what happens in life for those people who come to see us. But more importantly, it's just a great time to get together and have a wonderful meal with your neighbors and your friends. We'll have food trucks and all kinds of great little meals. And the empty bowls is the exhibit of the empty bowl that's on the table. Someone who is unable to put the food in their bowl. And the table is that really anchor to where families and individuals go at night to rest and be together in their home. So not having a place to put that bowl is one thing, and not having anything to put in the bowl is the premise around the Empty Bowls event. But while that is somewhat depressing, the reality is it's a great outpouring of love and support in our community. It's a lot of fun. It's an engaging evening under the stars.
Do you have any silent auction material that you offer during this event? Or
we are an organization that doesn't do a silent or live auction.
Okay.
We spend our time with our donors. Our donors have told us that this isn't for our organization. For other organizations, that is a blessing. For us, we ask people to reserve those dollars to provide us with the revenue so that we can put more eggs on the table so that people have those eggs. That's really what's important to us. But
and you said
yes, in April 11th. Sponsorships are really where we make our revenue. For those companies and individuals who believe in the work that is happening in our community and want to support it, our sponsorship helps us to do this work and expand our reach.
Very nice. All right, let's talk about the future. what's your vision for the future of your organization, my friend?
Like I said, we have a big vision. We think very big about what needs to happen. For us, we see us continuing to partner with our friends in the community who are doing the good work. But even more so and more importantly, we believe that helping our pantry and pantries around us be as successful as they possibly can so that people can continue to get that support, but have the wraparound services that help them to really get out of the situation they're in with case management is critically important. So for us, we're looking to expand our pantry footprint. We're looking to increase the amount of food that comes into the organization. And we're looking to add additional revenue so our case managers can work directly with people to help them find solutions to their financial issues and add education into that space so they can figure out how to deal with their own life and have sustainability. We want to partner alongside people, not just help them out.
Yeah, each case is unique, isn't it, LaVal? There's no cookie cutter solution. Everyone requires special focus and specific solutions.
Yeah.
If someone wants to connect with you directly, maybe on LinkedIn, or learn more about South County outreach, how do they do that?
So to connect with me, LinkedIn is really easy. I don't know how I got the LinkedIn page that didn't have anything other than my name. It's LaVal Brewer. Look up LaVal Brewer. I'm going to pop up. Okay. If you're looking for our organization and you want to learn more or you want to become more involved, South County Outreach is easy to find on the internet. Just type in South County Outreach. We'll show up. The actual web address is www.sco-oc.org.
Well, what a great guest to start off the new year. Thank you, LaVal, for being on the show. I appreciate your time and sharing your mission and vision with our audience.
Rick, thank you for ensuring that leaders like me and business leaders in the world in Orange County have someone to lean on so that they're not lonely and they're not by themselves, that they knew that they have a network of people that they can lean on and get this work done. And your show and your work is making it possible for leaders like me to be successful. Really appreciate you.
Thank you. And thank you to the audience. You're part of Orange County's longest running business talk show. LaVal's episode is going to join our catalog of over 1,500 episodes that we've done over the years. If you happen to be an Orange County nonprofit leader or you're an entrepreneur of a for-profit company here in Orange County and you would like to share your story with our audience, reach out to me on LinkedIn. My profile is Rick, R-I-C, Franzi, F-R-A-N-Z-I. And between Haley, my producer, and me, we can get you ready to be a great guest like LaVal was here today. And until the next time we all have a chance to be together, I hope all of your business decisions move your organization in a positive direction.